Life's a trip. I think one of the most fascinating things about life is that it is not any one single thing. It seems like there are stages where the rules change so dramatically that it's almost like you're living a new life. To speak in more concrete terms, because I'm being a little bit abstract here, I'm talking about the difference between like childhood versus adolescence versus early adulthood versus midlife versus, the end of your life. And that's painting the picture in broad strokes, right? Because on top of that, everybody's on their own journey, going at their own pace, and these sort of switches can happen at times that you can't predict. I think I'm talking about this right now because only like 10 days ago, from the time of recording this, I turned 25. And that hit me way harder than I realized. I was not entirely able to process what it meant to suddenly be 25. 25 is a big number, it's a quarter of a century. What's interesting is that I suddenly felt confronted with these honestly unrealistic expectations of what I should have done or the kind of impact that I'd like to have had in the world. None of it is based in any sort of reality because, to be honest with you, I have done a lot in my life already, but for some reason there's an internal narrative that's always pushing me to do more. I think I'm calling attention to a couple things. The first is that this is arbitrary, okay? I didn't have this reaction when I turned 24, and so these narratives in our heads are invented. Look, I've always been a little bit weird about my birthdays, but this one in particular really struck, partially because of these internal narratives, but also because of another thing, which is that I realized a phase of my life is ending. If I look at my career so far, okay, I started working as a teenager, but I started really working like full-time as like a 17-year-old. So that was 8 years ago now. And what took me very far in my career, making it on YouTube, opening a lot of different doors and possibilities, was this kind of frenetic, all-out energy that I have, that I've thrown at almost everything that I've ever done. I would be working on a million videos at once. I would be juggling so many things all at the same time, just pushing myself to the absolute maximum. It was the only way that I was able to, for a short period of time, do 2 videos a week, but then weekly videos that were increasing in quality. I've made probably over 200 videos over the last few years. At first I was able to just focus on videos, but then that kind of branched out. And now I'm juggling a lot of other things. I've mentioned a variety of times that I'm working on a book. A book is a marathon, okay? I'm like 2 years into the process and nowhere near done. And that's gonna require a lot more time and energy and high-level thinking. The adventures and the stories I want to tell, the adventures I want to do, are expanding in scope. And basically, it's just been hitting me that I cannot approach my life in the way that I used to. This kind of crazy, frenetic, juggling things all the time, rushing about, isn't working anymore. And there was no clearer example than on the day of my birthday. Now, I gave myself a little gift. I went to go see an orchestra, a solo visit by myself. This was in Vienna. I'm back in Paris now, but I spent the week in Vienna working on a project there. I love seeing orchestras play. But what I didn't realize is that in Austria, things really start on time, and I'm late to most things that I do. And this was because I didn't plan properly and tried to squeeze in a meal just before. And so I'm running to this place to get a burger 15 minutes before, and then I'm running to the concert hall where the orchestra's playing. And I'm late. I'm like 10 minutes late. Basically, what they do is they lock the concert hall when the music's playing because you don't want to have interruptions. It's not cool to have people coming in and out of the hall while the musicians are playing. Not only did I miss the first act, if you will, but the second one had begun and I was unable to enter for an additional 15 minutes. I felt awful. Like, this is so stupid. I'm missing the first half hour of this show, this gift I gave to myself for my birthday, waiting outside in the common area for them to unlock the door for me once the music stops and the applause begins, because I arrived late and I totally could have controlled that. I felt like a little schoolboy on timeout out in the hall. It really made me think that I cannot continue like this. This really made me think that this kind of energy and this sort of approach applies to all facets of life. And I'm in the very early stages of making this shift. It's gonna take time. Uprooting and undoing these behavioral patterns that I have is gonna take a while, especially since what I did bring me a lot of opportunities and success, if you will. Like, I think that me being the crazy tornado, wild bull that I am sometimes energetically and creatively has led me to here, but it's not gonna lead me to there, the place I wanna go, the direction I want to move in, the deeper stories, taking a longer period of time to work on things. There's also something that is starting to wear on me from all this crazy juggling. It's not enjoyable to switch tasks all the time and not be able to focus on something. And I've found that in the moments where I successfully do slow down, I'm able to enjoy and appreciate my life so much more. Like, wow, I'm so lucky. I have so many great things going for me, but I can't see it when I'm so caught up in the stress of doing too many things at once. So it was interesting that the universe kind of threw this at me on the day of my birthday to reflect on. I am not going to make the false claim here that I've learned my lesson, because since then, I've still been late to different things. I still do a lot of the frenetic running around, but I'm paying more attention. I'm becoming more and more aware of this. This is the first time in my life I've actively been thinking about how I actually want to do less things at once. That used to sound like blasphemy in the past. It sounded like, oh, you're lacking ambition and you're lacking drive and, you need to push through. It feels like what I've done before isn't working as well as it used to, and that a shift needs to take place, and it makes me nervous, which is exactly the sign that I need. It's like, okay, you're gonna learn and grow a lot by going in this direction. And so I'm spending a lot of time thinking about this. It's probably going to manifest itself as fewer videos on my main channel and maybe a lot more simple updates like this on this channel. But I'm not just talking about creative output, although that is very directly connected. I'm talking about how I live my life. I'm talking about a desire for me to eliminate that feeling of being rushed, of running around, of chasing. I think there's a way for me to pursue the stories that I want to tell, to pursue the many things that interest me, but in a way that is a bit energetically different. I've had it described to me as the difference between looking with the front of your eyes and the back of your eyes, or standing on your toes versus the ball of your foot. Life for me continues to get richer and more interesting, and I'm finding that this feels right. This is a path I need to pursue. And I've done enough research on tremendously impactful, tremendously skilled, tremendously inspired artists, creators, inventors from throughout history to see that this is very in line with how they operate. You cannot rush great work. To do great work, you must take your time. You must reflect deeply. You must pace yourself. Yes, there are periods of sprinting. There are periods of working really, really hard. I don't think hard work ever necessarily goes away, but there is a consistent pattern of playing the long game, And in many ways, my behavior has not reflected that. In many ways, my behavior has been a sprint, I suppose, without a vision for what happens in 5, 10, 15, 30, 50 years from now. So yeah, those are my reflections on turning 25, the many lives we live, and the direction I want to move in. Would love to hear your thoughts.